12 out of 2,650 high schools have been connected to the NBN. Will 19. Will the Minister now admit that the much-touted digital education revolution is just a sham? And will he look into this embarrassing policy fiasco?
No, not giving you the call. Now, I remind honourable senators on both sides that time for debating this is after 3 p.m. Senator Conroy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to concede that I think Senator Carr has been too kind on you, Senator Mason. Too kind. He's always exempted you from the knuckle draggers. He has always exempted you, but today you've joined them. Because, Mr. President, the digital education revolution is delivering astrophysics classes to Year 10 students in a small country town of Wollonga. It's delivering homeschooling to students in Tasmania.
Senator Conroy, just resume your seat. Now, when there's silence on my left, we will proceed. Order. You're wasting the time of question time. When you are silent, we'll proceed. Order. No. Now, when you're ready, we'll proceed. When you're ready, we will proceed on both sides. Order. Order. Senator Conroy.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was saying, those opposite might want to mock the ability to deliver an astrophysics class to a small school in Wollonga, a country town, a small country town. But the knuckle draggers over there will not be able to stand in the way of the education revolution. Students in Tasmania, homeschooled, attending the class. Students in Wollonga attending a Bell Shakespeare rehearsal at the Sydney Opera
Order.
House.
Time has expired. Senator Conroy, time has expired. Before I call the next questioner, I note the presence in the gallery of former Senator Chapman. Welcome to question time. Order. You're entitled to be heard in silence, Senator Xenophon. You will get the call, Senator Xenophon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Senator Ludwig. In relation to the matters I raised yesterday with him in question time, with respect to the consultation process for cost recovery of export fees, can the Minister indicate how many small businesses in total, and in South Australia particularly, were consulted, and how many of these businesses had fewer than 20 employees? Did any small business owners participate in the ministerial task force? What other options for consultation were open to small businesses if they did not sit on the task force and were not directly approached by the department?
The Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Senator Ludwig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Xenophon for his question and for the opportunity for the government to outline its consultation with horticulture exporters on fees and charges for the export certification in the horticultural industry. Again, as outlined yesterday, Australia's horticultural exporters are a diverse group. It's granted. I think you've outlined that many of them are small business. I understand that and respect their involvement in this industry. The government has made considerable effort to target its communication about the $127.4 million export certification reform program and its outcomes well. On the 24th of November 2009, Minister Burke announced the program by media release, and the government committed to reduce red tape and reduce the cost of government service delivery by $30 million. We delivered on that aim, a reduction in the costs of the horticultural export program in its own, so this is across export certification, but in horticulture about $1 million, which is roughly 12.5%. but to give effect to that, the government established a ministerial task force chaired by the Australian Horticultural Exporters Association, whose task it was to consult with their constituents and represent the interests of their members and the industry more broadly. But the members of the task force included from the Australian Horticultural Exporters, it included people from the South Australian Industry Development Board, from the Global Fruit Exchange, from the Australian Mango Industry Association, from citrus growers and packers, from the Nursery and Garden Industry Association, from the Fruit Growers Tasmania, from the Ironbark Citrus and Grapes, from Antico International Proprietary Limited, from Horticulture Australia Limited, from Centre West Exports, from the Lamanna Group, and from the ABS Bar Group. And I can go further. There was also a range...
Time's expired, Senator Ludwig. Senator Xenophon.
Supplementary, and I'd be grateful if the Minister even took that on notice, the question I just asked him about the numbers of small businesses consulted. Can the Minister justify how a one-size-fits-all fee schedule makes sense for Australian producers and how it does not discriminate against small producers? And can the Minister indicate a willingness to examine a long-term model of cost recovery where there is a sliding scale of fees to accommodate small businesses?
The Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Xenophon for his supplementary question. The fees and charges are set based on the forecast of running the program on a year-by-year basis. It is fair to say that I liaise with exporters to see if there was a better way to apply the fees and charges while at the same time addressing the chronic undercollection issue in the program. I distributed 3 separate models, which I am happy to provide to your office, about how we could move forward in making sure that there wasn't a chronic undercollection in this industry. The government provided transitional assistance to give effect to assistance and work to achieve acceptance of the authorised officers in key markets to reduce costs. That's the government's role. I note the opposition have called on me to cut, as well as you, Senator Xenophon, to cut a deal for small exporters. I'd argue that the package provided goes well beyond that. $6.5 billion in transitional assistance.
Time's expired, Senator Xenophon.
The Minister justify why small producers like Mick and Tanya Puntiero of the Riverland in South Australia, lime producers, lime growers, should be forced to change their business models either by moving out of exports entirely or by being forced to be part of a larger organisation because of a massive increase in fees, at least 300%, without the short-term subsidy, something like 1,300%.
Order. The Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Senator Xenophon for his supplementary question. As I've indicated, the government has made available $6.5 million in transitional assistance, reducing Mr. Puntiero's registration fee by approximately $6,500, and a similar rebate is available across those businesses for registration. But my department is also in close consultation with individuals such as Mr. Pontiero, because I'm advised that he already exports through a third-party establishment and doesn't export through his own packing shed. There may be always encourage people to look at alternative options to the full registration fee, and the department is discussing those options and they're available across small business. However, some requirements in the system are requirements that export markets place on the export supply chain. So there are also expectations from overseas markets that we meet those supply chain requirements. In these times,
expired, Senator Ludwig. Senator Bob.
And our time's also expired for today's Senate question time and indeed for the week. You can see a replay of today's House of Representatives question time at 1:30 tomorrow morning.